Do you guys know what aircraft this is? And what it represents in aviation history? It is fascinating. If you said the Comet, give yourself a gold star. That is correct. It was a rocket-propelled interceptor aircraft, rush-designed, rush-produced in the dark days of World War II for Germany as a last-ditch way to hopefully impede, hopefully stop the daylight bombing by the United States, primarily from the B-17s, which were wreaking havoc all throughout Germany, shutting down the German war machine. That is what won World War II for us. Daylight bombing, says me. Absolutely. And this plane was designed to combat it with the minimum amount of design, materials, and, for that matter, pilots. Which gets me to my story. Yes, unbelievably, this is a watch review. But I got to introduce this. It's on the table. It's cool. It's fun. We'll get to that. Spinnaker Wreck. It's awesome, by the way. Maybe this week you had a bad week and you said, man, my life sucks. Things didn't go my way. I'm not happy. Gosh, it's tough. And maybe you did, but let's put it into perspective. Imagine that you're 18 years old. It's 1945. You've had 2 flights in this plane. And now you are tasked with taking off and intercepting the American bombers and shooting them down. Oh, you didn't know that most of the aces and all the skilled German pilots had already been shot down and killed by that time? Yep, they were. They were short on pilots, critically short, and so they had minimal training. And here you were strapping a rocket-propelled aircraft onto your backside, taking off with what was, by the way, a very volatile fuel, very dangerous. And I think this was made of plywood, like the 163, with acidic adhesive, known to delaminate at speeds. A lot of the pilots died on takeoff. This undercarriage here dropped free. And then when you landed, if you were lucky enough to complete a mission, because your rocket fuel would exhaust itself, it was designed to shoot up, probably into about 30,000 feet, dive through the bomber formations, shoot it with their cannon, and then hopefully make it back to home base with no engine. You're dead sticking it. You're gliding. So if you didn't die on landing, you didn't die on takeoff, maybe you ran into another plane or you were shot down by a P-51 because you're not that skilled of a pilot. You don't have any experience. Historical perspective. Yeah, that sucks. How would you like to do that? I mean, I think the attrition rate for both the 163 and the Comet were extraordinarily high. Most of the guys that flew them died. But it was desperate for Germany. They're, again, doing everything they could to stop the Allied bombing. Pretty interesting. It's going to be sitting out over here. Let you just ponder that aviation lesson, and actually a life lesson. Always good to put things into perspective. No doubt. Also, we have, changing gears, the Bug Out 535. Epic EDC knife. Epic! Kind of an admission, though. I don't change out my blades very often with my EDC loadout. I don't. I'll get into a rut. I've said that in my WRVs. I'm sorry, my KRVs. I'll carry the same knives for, I don't know, 3 weeks. My watches, however, yep, I swap them out. And I have a great time doing it. Really. This one I've had on for 2 days. It is a more expensive Tourgoing. That's what it's called, T16. The whole backside glows. This is a Swiss watch. Very cool. There's your wrist check. Then I have my wrist computer on this side. Apple Watch. Yep, still wearing both. Highly recommended. That way you can wear whatever you want on this one. Not talking about that brand, though. We're going to talk about the Spinnaker Wreck and apparently World War II aviation history. It is an excellent dive watch. It is the culmination of many hours of research online by myself. I spend about, I would estimate, and I'm not exaggerating, I'm not bragging, I'm not complaining, about 40 to 50 hours a week on TMP. Yeah, and I have other work. It's not my only work, but 40 to 50 hours on TMP. A lot of it is pre-production, a lot of it is production and post-production, making the videos. Pre-production is research. Yep, finding out what to review, getting what to review. I click through a lot of stuff, and this is me clicking through stuff, researching, especially watches. I go, nope, nope, ugly, nope, too expensive, nope, goofy. What? He likes that watch? How? I eliminate a lot of watches, but I did happen upon this one with, again, a lot of research and, frankly, a lot of money. And I have all four to show you. I did not go to Spinnaker and beg for a watch. I did not go to a distributor or seller of any kind saying, hey man, give me some free product and I'll do a tabletop review. It's never worked that way here. I just go out and buy it with that money you guys help me get. Thank you. And this is what you get. Quality information, hopefully, definitely honest. All four colorations coming your way. This one is model number 5051-01. Just really cool looking. A lot of character. I like that name too, Spinnaker. That is a great name. Have you heard of it before? Nope, never heard of it, nutnfancy. Honestly, I hadn't either, until I ran into it online. Lots and lots of watches. I am actually flabbergasted how many watch brands there are, how many micro brands there are. Apparently they're doing well though, because they keep cropping up. Spinnaker's one of them. This is not their only model. They also make other models like the Croft, the Cahill, the Hull, the Helium dive watch, the Spence. I don't really like the Spence so much. Ugly hands. That was one of those times I was going, what? Nah, ugly. Hey, not every manufacturer makes a watch that I personally like that I'll bring to tabletop. Not so much. So again, that is -01. All these are 5051. This one might be my favorite. I hope the colors capture well on the camera. I'm going to call it the Leprechaun Diver. At first you may think it's ugly, but if you see it in person, it is so different. I actually like it. It is 5051-03. It has a freaking brass case. How cool is that? Oh, I love that. And Spinnaker says that the whole case on the Wreck is actually vintage diver inspired. So a lot of vintage divers, maybe some Seikos or something, had this style of case. It's very trim and compact. I like it, and I actually like the coloration. I didn't think I would. I really love the brass case. And you know what I want to do with this one? Dive it into the ocean to get it discolored. Yeah, I want it to look like an old discolored diving bell, or one of those old deep sea diver helmets, pressure helmets. Yeah, it's just something different. So you're collecting watches, right? I imagine you are if you're watching this video. This is pretty cool. I mean, again, I haven't seen any dive watch that has all these aesthetics going on. Here comes another one. 5051-03. Oh, I lied. This one is not 03. This is -2. I apologize. This one is the 03 right here. Green bezel. All of these have a very interesting face. Look how it's kind of scratched up, aged, distressed. That is the whole theme to the Spinnaker Wreck, and I absolutely love it. I think it's so cool. It's different. Lots of character, and the camera's doing a really good job of showing you the detail of this -03 green bezel model with a tan strap, leather straps. Yep, we'll consider that here in a second. I like this coloration too. In fact, there's not a color of this watch that I don't like. It's different. Hey, it's a dive watch. Why does it have leather on it? Well, they'll talk about how it's waterproof leather or water resistant leather for sure. You can easily swap it out with a Barton silicone band. Those are my favorite. See the link below. Amazon, that's where I get them. Swap it out and just keep this for EDC. Yeah, it's something different. I like different. I mean, do we have to put a plastic strap on every single dive watch we wear? Especially when most people are not diving with them. How many guys actually scuba dive with their watch? I would estimate approximately 0%. Maybe it's 1%. Few do. When I scuba dive, I take my dive computer. I'll wear another one for second cool and backup, like surface interval timing. I've talked about that before. Check out this one. This is the 5051-04 model. Another cool coloration. Let me show you the face on this one. So this one has a black face. It's still scratched up and distressed like the others, but since it's black, it's harder to detect. Oh man, that's just so cool. Which is your favorite coloration, nutnfancy? Ooh. And I don't know if I'm going to keep all these. I mean, yeah, I spent darn near $1,000 bringing them to you. I may take a couple back. I may give one away to Patreon members. I don't know. And I may keep one or two for cast members, just like I do this knife, just like I do this plane, tabletop decorations, and more importantly, as a competitive option for the tabletop reviews. That to me is interesting. It's helpful to the audience. Don't know. Favorite coloration though, God, it's really hard to determine. And this is why we're going to start the review off of this, because really what the Spinnaker Wreck is, and I did click around and read some other people's opinion on the watch, and it was pretty drab, pretty standard. They're just talking about the details of the watch. What they failed to capture is the personality of this watch and how it really breaks free from the pack with its personality. That it had some designers that were thinking out of the box. I like that. Not really mechanically. I mean, the dimensions, the bezel sizing, still very dive-ish. We still have a small face syndrome, as I call it, going on, as we normally do with a dive watch. But the looks, the distressed looks, that fitting it with a very high-quality leather strap, the colorations, the vintage feel, I think all that's gold. God, it's really hard to determine which is my favorite color. I just like them all. I actually like this one. I like that one. If you were to force me, I would say this is number one, this is number two, tied. Don't hold me to it. I like this one because it presents bigger because of the lighter colored bezel. Because and that's a visual thing, like when you put a light, and it's not that light, I mean it's blue, but it is lighter colored, so it looks bigger than it is. And we're going to talk about that, I guess, right now. One reason I went clicking around looking for perhaps a slightly smaller dive watch is because there are TMPers, Patreon guys that are into watches. I fed them the addiction, you're welcome. And they said, hey, you know, my wrist is not like your 7.5 inches. I have more like a 6.5, 6.25 inch wrist. Those other large dive watches, kind of like the totally awesome, which you'll see many times in review, Deep Blue Master 1000 might be a little bit big for me. This is like my reference standard for a dive watch for someone with my size wrist. Again, 7.5 inches. I went looking for something smaller. I found this. Technically, it's 43.5 millimeters by 13.5 millimeters. The Wreck by 50 millimeters. And this is what it looks like on my, again, 7.5 inch wrist. And yeah, I still have the tags on them because, again, I haven't decided where they're going to end up. So that's what it looks like. I know most of you guys are going to say, oh, dude, that is perfect. That is perfect sizing. You don't want anything bigger than that, nutnfancy. Look at the colors on that. Oh my gosh, that's good looking. That is good looking. This is a -01, the blue bezel. Very excited about them. The only thing I wish they would have done is made this a matte finished bezel. I don't think it's ceramic. I think it's anodized. They should have done that on all of them. It would have looked so much cooler. They're all gloss finish. Black bezel, green bezel, black bezel, green bezel. Let's look at this too. While we're looking at the bezel, we'll just do that. We have the standard, I guess, all the way up to 20-minute increments on this one. Do I care? Not really. I kind of like a full graduation maybe, but I can do without. I think we got like 7 clicks per 5 minutes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep, there you go. Really positive bezels though. Really nice bezels. Good alignment. The small face syndrome I'm talking about is anytime you get a dive watch these days, they have the bezel take up some room of the presentation window. The crystal, they're all this way. Yes, it's a pet peeve of mine. It's why I don't do a ton of dive watch reviews, because I like a pilot watch aesthetic or a classic vintage aesthetic. Here's a Navahawk that does not suffer from that. Review forthcoming. Check this. So this, look how big that face is on the Navahawk versus a Spinnaker. Why? Because it has a thin bezel and it's a bigger watch. But again, guys who have small wrists, this size watch, this size crystal won't work for them. I think this one will. This one will. I think it'll work for a wide variety of wrist styles. Comet coming back into frame. Coming in for a dangerous landing, apparently. I read online, though, as I was doing my research, one of those mini hours, some dude said the Spinnaker Wreck is massive. I'm like, WTH, it is not massive. I would love to see what he has to say about the Master 1000. He probably would have to use another arm to carry it around. I'm just kidding. It's not that heavy, not that big. And I outfitted this strap on it, by the way. This is not... I don't actually know. This is a deep blue strap. I got it direct from Deep Blue. But yeah, it normally comes with a silicone strap, which is fine, but I just went with a Zulu strap instead. Enough of that one, though. This watch is high quality for what you get. There are a couple misses with it. And one miss is, I think, for the price, it lists for $250 per watch without a discount on their website. See my links below. Those links, by the way, may change. If I find it in Amazon, I'm going to take it Amazon. Yeah, that way I get 3 cents when you click and buy a watch. That's what fuels the show, dude. Told you. But if I can't find anywhere, I'll just link you somewhere else. Maybe Long Island Watch or something like that. I love that place as well. A miss is they used a mineral crystal for this price. I think when you go $200 or more, you should be giving your customer a sapphire crystal. They don't. These are mineral crystals. Not the end of the world. I put a crystal protector on all of my watches that have that attribute. I'm looking on this watch if it has one. I think this one does. Casio dive watch is wearing my crystal protector. Made out of armor suit material. Go watch my video on it. That is kind of a miss. And I think that is the end of misses for the Spinnaker Wreck. Everything else is pretty excellent. Let's look at the face. And we're going to go to this super cool leprechaun diver. Leprechaun green, brass. It's just so funky. And I'm usually not for that. I think you guys know my aesthetic. I usually don't like that. I usually hate it. Something weird. But I was looking at this online. I was like, I think I'll like that when I get it in person. And I do. I really do. It's so different. I think of all the watches on the table, this one would draw probably the most comments as you wear it day to day. Maybe the most derision. Yeah, maybe that. Prepare yourself. But again, you only wear a watch to make yourself happy. I've said that many times before. Now this one has the vinyl on the watch crystal still. I think I peeled it off on one of these. Yeah, this one I think is off. We'll look at this one as we consider the handset. That's what I was saying. This makes up for a lot of shortcomings, what I perceive to be a smaller size for me. The hands are excellent on the Wreck. Really excellent. So we have an arrow hand for the minutes outlined in orange and it's white. We have a pure white with no funky colorations on it for the hours hand. Smooth sweeping seconds hand from the Seiko NH35 24 jewel automatic movement. Yes, this is an auto, not a quartz watch. Hey, which one do you prefer now, nutnfancy? Honestly, I like them both. I don't know if I have a preference. I do like the no maintenance, at least for 2 years, of a quartz watch. And swapping the batteries out is pretty easy. But when I flip this sucker over and I look at the exhibition case back and see this decoration, especially with the Spinnaker logo, the Spinnaker sail there, it makes me happy. It's kind of cool. And there's a lot of guys that feel that way. I mean, they want a watch with soul. I think this one's got it. It really does. Screw in case back. Not really that important for an auto movement. For me and a quartz movement, it's ultra important because I'll be changing the batteries out. Look at the finishing on the case on this one. Again, it's got that distressed look on it. It's an oxidation that they put on it. And the low profile nature of the bezel I like. So look at the knurling on this. So it's pretty low profile. What does that tell you? That it's really not designed for diving is what it tells me. This is more of a desk diver, which is totally fine. And of course it's come with leather. That's kind of the message they're sending. You You can dive with this. I read another comment like, I would never even go in a swimming pool with that. It's only 100 meters rated. I'm like, what? I've gone scuba diving with 100-meter watches, and they just down to 40 feet, but that's deep enough, and they did fine. I think guys are way too careful about it. Are there watches that would fail? Probably. Here's the bezel on the deep blue, just by way of contrast. This is more of a serious diver, although it's still lower profile. We looked at and considered that background on the Spinnaker. Look at the sail. I love the shiny black relief lettering of the logo. All that's excellent. The information presented right here. The orange, simple stick markings with circular markers here. It's all good, man. Got no issues. Before I forget, let's look at the loom. I'm going to charge this, what one is this? 01 model up with the O-Light. Super quick. Super high tech WRV. Only the best production quality ever. Check out the loom while we're at it. And actually, I haven't even charged these ones up at all, so you'll see how dim they are probably. I would classify the loom as adequate. It's not like amazing. It's not super luminova. It's okay. These are actually showing. The camera's not picking it up. These ones right here, they're showing. I'm looking right now, and I can easily read them right. I see that. I'm not going to zoom in, but they were just getting ambient light. So I would say it's more than adequate, the loom. And you have a single pip on the bezel right here. I love this face right here. You know what this reminds me of, this face? It looks like scratched up brass. Obviously, I mean, because it's supposed to match this case, but it's just super cool. Now we have a green seconds hand on this one. Silver Spinnaker sail and logo. Red on the hour's hand here. On this variation we have a yellow outline minutes hand, dark green bezel, white markers still. The date windows are pretty similar, although some will be in negative coloration. They're all framed. This one is in white. This one's in negative coloration, and that makes it more difficult to read for sure. Dark green bezel. I think this coloration is just superb. It looks like a field watch to me. All of these do. They really look like a hybrid field diver. And I had mentioned that in another WRV. I said, hey, the companies need to get their act together and really do a hybrid watch. Just so you know, and I want to be clear on this, this ain't it. This is really a dive aesthetic. What I'm talking about is making something that has a large face on it, kind of like the Navahawk, but still has a very thin turnable bezel, but we don't suffer from the small face syndrome. Actually, this one does too. The effective face on the Navahawk is actually pretty small. The chapter ring and all the slide rule information around the peripheries taking up most of the case space. Still a cool watch. Really super legible too, the Navahawk, albeit the negative display makes it more difficult. Watch for my review on that one. Here's this coloration right here, dudes. Yellow seconds hand. I don't have this one charged up. It does have manual winding and hacking, the NH35 movement. I find the winding to be very smooth. Really smooth winding. As nothing continues to happen. There it is. And then you have quick set on the date. Should be this direction right here. There we go. Hacking. I find it to be a very quiet watch in operation, the Spinnaker Wreck. Love the blue outlining on the hour's hand on this one, and the blue markings here, just really cool. The only thing I would say again is the visual look of a dark face with a dark bezel. To me, and I've always said this, just makes a watch seem smaller. Maybe you like that though. Maybe you're just like, hey, that's perfect, man. That's exactly what I want. I'm more of a big watch guy. That's one reason I love this one, the Master 1000. By the way, this is a very sick mother of pearl version. That's what this one looks like on my wrist. To me, that makes me happier. A bigger watch. I don't know. I just like it. Yeah, I'm a big SAWC guy. I am, but dang. I just like it. And again, let's put this brass one on and see what it looks like. the leprechaun diver. That is funky, and I like it. I like the strap. I wouldn't change the strap out. I just wear it and make a statement of weirdness wherever I go, and they can deal with it. That is hilarious. Love it, man. Let's look at the box this thing comes in. I rarely do this because I don't know, watch boxes are just dumb. I'm sorry, I'm just being honest with you guys. I think most of us will never store the watch in that box. It just takes up room, and we end up not knowing what to do with it. I'm like, what do I do with it? So it's just a basic box. Some instructions down there somewhere. It's nothing special. I like how they didn't spend a lot of money on the box, albeit I see a lot of other watches that cost less than this. They do a really good job on the boxes. Aviate comes to mind. You cannot go wrong with any of their watches. You can't. They're more of a pilot watch aesthetic. By the way, I didn't mention this. NH35 has about a 41-hour power reserve if you care. Do I? Not really. Because it's in rotation. An auto watch is going to be dead when I get to it. I did try to do the whole winder thing, and that just didn't work out so well. So I just wind them up and set them. It takes just a second to do so. And go on my merry little way. Highly recommended. Really, really highly recommended. A little more pricey for sure. You might find them for around $200 to $250. You might find some coupon codes out there. I think Spinnaker once in a while will run a coupon code. I've seen 15%. Again, I searched long and hard when I ordered these watches, and I was out of luck. I didn't get that. Had to pay full price. I don't know. Yeah, probably a couple will go back, and we'll see what happens to the other two. Would I prefer it over other watches like the Casio Edifice? Competitive option. I love the Edifice. This is an Eco Drive solar-powered watch. Much more legible date. Really nice bracelet on it. Great casework. About the same size. I mean, it really is. And I think of the Edifice for me as a smaller watch. And look, it's about the same size as a Spinnaker. That's pretty interesting. Let's give this one some screen time, shall we? God, that's a really cool coloration. I just love the colorations. It's just one of these watches, when you get it in person, the Wreck, it really will grow on you. It's one thing seeing it, but when you handle it, again, it's a high personality watch. Here comes a Wegener Seaforce, the older version. This presents a little bit bigger, and it is a little bit bigger. I think this is like a 45mm case. Go watch my review on the Seaforce. And I have the Sterling original came out with the same style. I don't know if I posted that WRV yet in the stack. Watch the videos quicker and they'll post quicker. Love this watch though. Look, this has a silicone band on it with blue stitching. This was affordable. This is a quartz. This is an auto, but this is half price of that. Less than half at the time at least. I forgot to mention, see how this has a protected crown? This one doesn't, and I don't mind it because, again, this is kind of a hybrid. That's the way I think of the Spinnaker Wreck. It's not really a full-on diver, so it doesn't have a protective crown. Has a thinner bezel, kind of a vintage appearance, leather band. I'm all good with that, man. It is an outstanding watch. It's highly recommended. You may see more of it. I think I ought to keep at least one around as a competitive option. Tell me in comment if you'd like me to do that, or if you think I should send them all back and you hate them. That's okay too. If you hate them, let me know. I think they are super cool though. NH35, great looks, personality, all the stuff I talked about. And at least we don't have to go fly this on an intercept mission. Yeah, I'll just end there. Awkwardly. Nutnfancy. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being TMP Patreon. See ya.